Vincent watched Audrey for a moment, the tension between them thick but unspoken. He grabbed his leather portfolio and keys from the counter, his movements precise as always. "Drive safe," he said, voice even, though concern flickered in his eyes. "You too," Audrey replied, her back already to him as she sipped her coffee by the window. The driveway was quiet as Vincent's electric sedan slipped onto the main road, heading toward Cornerstone Design's sleek headquarters in downtown St. Louis. The mornings had always been his sanctuary for reflection, yet lately, even the ritual comfort of black coffee and sunrise could not dispel the persistent unease weaving itself through his days. At the office, his staff greeted him with the usual blend of admiration and respect, their eyes following as he strode toward his private suite. Dozens of awards lined the corridor, each a reminder of what he'd sacrificed for this empire: time, peace, and increasingly, connection. Back at the mansion, Audrey set her cup in the sink and lingered for a long moment, her hand resting lightly on the counter. The stillness pressed around her. Audrey loosened her hair and exhaled shakily, glancing down at her phone. A message flashed across the screen. "Gallery install at 11. See you soon. M." A smile tugged at her lips, tentative but genuine. On the third floor, Lily's absence was noticeable. The bed made, canvases arranged in a halo by the window where morning light poured in, illuminating a palette of unfinished blues and ochres. The house felt quieter, not just emptied by her departure for the tour, but changed at its core. As the day unfolded, each family member moved through their worlds at a careful distance from one another, their schedules packed with accomplishments and obligations, yet haunted by the things they left unspoken. Vincent closed the app and stared at his reflection in the polished glass, thoughtfully tracing the outline of the city with his eyes. Shadows stretched toward the lake, sleek and angular, much like the homes he designed. He reminded himself why he had built every part of his world on discipline and logic, fears and doubts contained, never allowed to seep into the open. He refocused on work, scanning blueprints and contracts, making notes for his meeting with the Stanfield Tower developers. Every line he drew carried the reassurance of control. Here, on paper, he could anticipate every stress point, every weakness, and brace against disaster. In marriage, in life, he thought bitterly, no such guarantees existed. By the time Diego buzzed his office, reminding him it was nearly 2, Vincent felt the familiar cloak of composure settle over him. He gathered his materials, buttoned his suit jacket, and made his way to the glass-walled conference room where the future of St. Louis's skyline would be negotiated. The room filled with developers and city officials, all eager to shake his hand. Throughout the meeting, Vincent answered every question with calm authority, sketching ideas and outlining costs with the confidence of a man in command. Yet every so often, his eyes drifted to the framed family photo on his desk. Audrey and Lily smiled back at him from behind unbreakable glass, beautiful, distant, and slightly out of reach. The meeting concluded with applause, handshakes, and assurances that the board would be in touch soon. Vincent's name, already synonymous with innovation, was poised to be etched permanently into the city's history. Driving home that evening, as dusk draped the city in amber light, Vincent's phone vibrated with an incoming message. "Dinner at the Galleria, 7:30 sharp. Mayor Morris." He replied with a simple, "See you there," then loosened his tie, allowing himself a rare sigh. Behind the veneer of success, cracks widened in places no blueprint could reinforce. Vincent's hand shook as he closed the email window, his reflection distorted in the black screen. Rage simmered beneath the surface, a burning, clear resolve. He replayed every interaction with Alex and Audrey in his mind, searching for clues he'd missed. The knowing glances, the stifled laughter at dinners, the sudden chill in Audrey's affection, Alex's evasive answers in recent meetings. Every detail clicked into place, a hidden structure revealed. But Vincent was not the boy cowering from shadows in the hallway, or even the young architect fighting for a foothold in an unforgiving city. He would not confront them blindly or allow emotion to cloud his next move. Instead, He methodically copied the damning emails and financial records to an encrypted drive, tucking it away in his briefcase. He began drafting a strategy, as carefully and deliberately as he would design the foundation for a skyscraper. He thought of Lily, her laughter echoing through sunlit rooms, her trust so freely given. This was no longer just about his pride or even his marriage. Everything he had built was threatened, and that included his daughter's future. Midnight ticked by in silence, broken only by the hum of his computer and the distant city lights beyond the window. Vincent turned off his monitor and closed the files, his course set. This time he would not simply survive betrayal. He would master it, turning every hidden fault line in the foundation to his advantage. He slipped out of his office and into the empty streets, the weight of his resolve steadying his every step. Vincent maintained his calm exterior, masking the resolve churning beneath the surface. He packed his bag with the same precision he applied to blueprints, his routine unchanged to the casual observer. As he stepped out into the crisp autumn air, he glanced back at the house, its glass walls now feeling more like barriers than invitations. Shortly after, he parked a few blocks away and doubled back on foot, using side streets to remain unseen. He stationed himself where he could watch the driveway through a row of maples. From a safe distance, he observed Audrey leaving less than an hour later, dressed with deliberate care and pausing to check her reflection before she got into her car. Felix's team had already been trailing Audrey and Alex for days. Vincent received a series of encrypted updates to his phone. Audrey meeting Alex at a discreet entrance to Alex's penthouse, the pair laughing in the elevator's security footage, oblivious to everything but each other. Yet it was the image sent from the Michigan lake house that stung most. Lily on the wide porch, sketchbook in hand, her trusting face turned up to her mother and Alex. The smile she gave them was one he hadn't seen in months, a smile reserved not just for family, but for those she believed in. For the first time in years, Vincent wondered if he truly knew the people he loved most. Vincent's plan required patience. Every step calculated not just to reveal, but to reclaim. It was no longer enough to catch them in the act. He needed to dismantle their scheme with the same thoroughness they had used on him. The blueprint of deception was complex, but he was its master now. That evening, as Audrey and Alex toasted to their supposed victory in the glow of the city skyline, Vincent sat in his car, the engine idling quietly. He mapped out every move still to come, the final lines of his design falling into place. There would be no confrontation until he was truly ready. When he struck, it would be final and undeniable, strength, precision, and transparency, just as he had always built. Vincent smiled, his expression cool and unwavering. "No, Alex. I'll give the city and the press everything. The emails, the recordings, the financial records linking your company to insider trading, donor manipulation, and political corruption. I'll hand over evidence that would take down not only your career but every partner who's ever vouched for you. And if that's not enough, I have testimony from third parties cooperating with a federal investigation. Witness statements that would make sure you'd never see daylight outside a courtroom again." Alex's bravado faltered, his hands trembling ever so slightly as he glanced at the folder on the island. The reality of his predicament dawned clearly. He was cornered with no way out. "I've spent my entire life building this city's skyline, Alex. Unlike you, I know how to reinforce a foundation before it cracks. You have until midnight to sign these documents and call off your proposal. After that, I unleash all of it. I won't let you destroy what I've built, professionally or personally." Alex's jaw clenched as anger warred with defeat in his eyes. "And Audrey? Lily? You going to destroy them too?" Vincent's voice softened, but every word was laced with steel. "I'm not here to destroy my family, just to rescue them from your manipulations. You were never my friend, Alex. You were a wrecking ball, pretending to be a builder. Now, you get to leave before the dust settles." The kitchen was thick with silence. Alex looked for any sign that Vincent was bluffing, then his shoulders slumped. He reached for the pen Vincent had set atop the folder and signed, each stroke of ink sealing the new order Vincent had wrought. As the papers were completed, Vincent gathered them, his motions decisive.
I'll give you 1 hour to collect your things from the penthouse. After that, Felix's associates will escort you to your new condo in Miami. Your contacts, your reputation, your future in Chicago end tonight.
Alex nodded, swallowing whatever words he wanted to say, and left the house without another look back. Vincent stood alone in the kitchen for a long moment, watching the shadows shift as evening deepened. He didn't feel victorious, just emptied, as if the house itself had exhaled. He placed the signed folder in his briefcase, then went to the security panel to deactivate the recording system. Soon, Audrey would return, expecting a night of secrecy and schemes, unaware the foundation under her world had already been rebuilt. Vincent set his glass down, his gaze unwavering. How did I know? I'm an architect, Audrey. I see the faults before the building collapses. Felix has been tracking you, Alex, and everyone you've involved. Audrey's voice trembled. We never planned to hurt Lily. She needed time away from the tension here. Alex told her the lake house would be a space for her to breathe, to paint. He wanted her to feel like she had family, in case you and Alex replaced me entirely, Vincent finished, his tone deadly quiet. You used my own daughter as leverage while orchestrating this takeover. That's not concern for her well-being, Audrey. That's manipulation. That's building something on lies, and it was bound to come crashing down. She pressed her trembling hands to her forehead. I made mistakes, Vincent, but You made a series of choices that left this family in ruins, he interrupted. You and Alex planned a future where I was erased. Did you ever think about what that would do to Lily? Or did you just tell yourself it was for the best? Tears threatened Audrey's voice as she whispered.
I was scared. I felt invisible. You lost yourself in work and never looked back at us.
Vincent regarded her with a mix of pity and sorrow. You should have spoken to me, not plotted behind my back. Now, Alex is gone. The deal is done, and your place in this family is uncertain. I'm not deciding anything tonight. I need to talk to Lily. Alone. Audrey's eyes brimmed with tears, her composure finally breaking. Vincent, please. She's all I have left. He pushed his chair back and stood, his presence as cold and steady as the glass and steel of the home he had built. For now, he said quietly, I suggest you think about what story you'll tell her when she comes home. Whatever happens next, she deserves the truth. Finally. For a long, heavy moment, silence filled the room as the consequences of every deception settled, undeniable and real. Vincent's gaze was unwavering as he studied Audrey's face. You engineered half of this, Audrey. Amicable is generous. She looked down, her hands wrapped tightly around her mug. I know I've hurt you, she said softly. But I can't keep pretending, Vincent, for Lily's sake or my own. He nodded once, the formality of the moment underscored by the brittle calm in the room. We'll work out the details with the lawyers. You'll have what's reasonable, nothing more. Lily's future and well-being come first. I won't let her become a casualty of our mistakes. Audrey exhaled, tears threatening but held at bay by sheer resolve. Thank you. We owe her that much. Before they could say more, the sound of tires on gravel announced a visitor. Vincent glanced at his watch, 6:52. That'll be my father, he said quietly, his voice like the closing of a vault. I wanted you to be present for this. Audrey's eyes widened, alarm flickering across her face. Why on earth? But the doorbell cut her off. Vincent went to answer, his steps measured and full of purpose. He opened the door to find Harold Reeves on the stoop, older now, gaunt and sharp-eyed, carrying the air of a man unused to being summoned. Vincent, Harold greeted, his voice neutral. He stepped inside, nodding briefly to Audrey. For old time's sake, I'm here. I assume this is about more than family dinner. Vincent closed the door behind him. Yes, it's about closing accounts, personal and otherwise. He led his father and Audrey into the living room, memories and secrets embedded in every shadow. "Sit," Vincent instructed, taking his place across from them both. He set the recording device down on the coffee table. "What is this?" Harold asked, eyes narrowing. Vincent's smile was thin, unapologetic. "This is the reckoning, Dad. For everything you did. To me, to Mom. Tonight there are no more secrets." Vincent's voice was low, urgent. "Mrs. Petrova from next door just called. She saw someone, dragging something into the garage. She heard screaming. Lily's screaming." Audrey's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with terror. No, that can't be. She's at debate practice. She's safe." Harold's expression darkened, his voice cutting through the panic. "What the hell is going on, Vincent? Who would do this?" Vincent's mind raced, his training in crisis management kicking in. "I need to get to the house, now." He turned to Audrey, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Stay here with my father. I'll call you as soon as I know anything." Audrey nodded, her face pale, tears already streaming down her cheeks. "Vincent, please find her. Find our baby." Vincent grabbed his keys and rushed out, his heart pounding in his chest. He sped through the winding roads, his mind a whirlwind of fear and dread. As he approached the house, he saw the garage door slightly ajar, a dark stain on the concrete driveway. He threw open the door and rushed inside, his eyes scanning the dimly lit space. At first he saw nothing but the usual clutter of tools and boxes. Then, in the far corner, he saw a figure slumped against the wall, a dark pool of blood spreading beneath them. "Lily!" Vincent's voice echoed through the garage as he rushed to her side. He knelt down, his hands shaking as he checked for a pulse. She was alive, but barely. Her breath was shallow, her skin cold and clammy. He pulled out his phone and dialed 911, his voice steady as he gave the address and described the situation. "Please hurry," he pleaded, his eyes never leaving Lily's pale face. As he waited for the ambulance, he gently cradled her in his arms, whispering words of comfort and love. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart. I'm here. Daddy's here." The sound of sirens in the distance brought a wave of relief. He stood, carrying Lily carefully, and met the paramedics at the door. They took her from him, their faces grave as they loaded her onto the stretcher and into the ambulance. Vincent followed, his heart heavy with fear and guilt. As the ambulance sped toward the hospital, he held Lily's hand, his voice steady and reassuring. "You're going to be okay, Lily. I promise. You're going to be okay." Vincent's breath hitched as he took in the chilling display. The images on the walls were a collage of his life, photos of him, Audrey, and Lily, interspersed with documents and emails, all meticulously arranged to tell a story of betrayal and deceit. The room was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the faint hum of the projector. He stepped closer, his eyes scanning the images. There were pictures of Audrey and Alex together, their laughter captured in candid shots. There were screenshots of emails detailing their plans to undermine his projects, to steal his designs, and to manipulate his daughter. There were photos of Harold, his father, in compromising positions, his judicial misconduct laid bare for all to see. Vincent's mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle. This was no random act of violence. This was a carefully orchestrated message. Someone had gone to great lengths to create this tableau, to make sure he saw it, to make sure he understood the depth of the betrayal. He turned to see Audrey and Harold standing in the doorway, their faces pale with shock and horror. "Vincent," Audrey whispered, her voice trembling. "What is this?" Vincent's voice was low, dangerous. "This is a warning. Someone wants me to know that they know everything, and they want me to know that they can reach me no matter where I go." Harold's face was a mask of fury. "Who did this, Vincent? Who would dare?" Vincent's eyes narrowed as he looked at his father. "Someone who knows our secrets, Dad. Someone who knows exactly how to hit us where it hurts." He turned back to the images, his mind racing. This was more than just a warning. It was a declaration of war. Someone was challenging him, daring him to fight back. And Vincent knew, with a cold, hard certainty, that he would not back down. He stepped forward, his voice steady and resolute. I need to call Felix. We need to find out who did this, and we need to make sure they never get the chance to do it again. Audrey's eyes widened in alarm. Felix? Vincent, what have you done? Vincent's gaze was unyielding. I've done what I had to do to protect this family, and I'll do it again if I have to. He pulled out his phone, his fingers flying over the screen as he dialed Felix. The call connected, and Vincent's voice was cold and precise. Felix, it's Vincent, we have a problem. Someone just sent me a message, and I need to know who it is. Audrey recoiled, her eyes wide with shock. Harold, despite his own turmoil, stepped in, his voice firm. Vincent, you can't just... Get out! Vincent's voice echoed through the garage, raw and unyielding. Now, both of you. Audrey's face crumpled, but she complied, moving toward the door with shaky steps. Harold followed, casting one last bewildered glance at the tableau before exiting. Vincent stood alone in the garage, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what needed to be done. He started with the mannequin, carefully removing the hooks and lowering it to the ground. The sight of it, dressed in Lily's clothes, was a stark reminder of the depths to which his enemies would sink. He moved to the projector, turning it off and gathering the photographs. Each one was a piece of a puzzle, a fragment of a narrative designed to shatter his world. He collected them, his mind racing with questions and a growing sense of purpose. The audio recordings continued to play, their voices echoing in the now silent garage. Vincent listened, his heart aching with each word. The betrayal ran deeper than he had imagined, the manipulation more insidious. He shut off the laptop, the silence a stark contrast to the chaos that had filled the room. He picked up the manila envelope, rereading the note. An architect of justice. The phrase echoed in his mind, a chilling reminder of the game being played. He dialed the number on the note, his voice steady as he spoke. I'm ready for the rest. The voice on the other end was calm, almost clinical. Good. Meet me at the old warehouse on the waterfront. You know the one. Come alone. Vincent hung up, his mind already formulating a plan. He gathered the evidence, placing it in the envelope, and moved to the car. As he drove, his thoughts were a whirlwind of strategy and resolve. This was no longer just about revenge. It was about survival, about protecting what was left of his family. He arrived at the warehouse, the old brick building looming against the night sky. The door creaked open as he approached, revealing a dimly lit interior. A figure stood in the shadows, their face obscured. You're late, the figure said, stepping into the light. It was a woman, her features sharp and familiar. She was someone he had seen before, someone connected to his past. Who are you? Vincent demanded, his voice low and dangerous. The woman smiled, a chilling curve of her lips. I'm the one who's been watching you, Vincent. The one who knows your secrets, your betrayals, your weaknesses. I'm the one who can help you bring them all down. Vincent's eyes narrowed, his hand instinctively reaching for the envelope. And why would you do that? The woman's smile widened, her eyes gleaming with a cold, calculated intensity. Because, Vincent, I'm an architect of justice, and I believe in balance. For every action there is a reaction. For every betrayal there is a reckoning, and I'm here to make sure you get yours. Charlotte's voice was steady, but the pain in her eyes was unmistakable. I lost my career, my reputation, and my marriage, all because I dared to question him. I knew I had to leave Chicago, but I couldn't just walk away. I had to find a way to bring him down. Vincent's mind raced, connecting the dots. And now you found a way to use me. Charlotte shook her head. This isn't about using you, Vincent. It's about justice. Alex Mercer has been manipulating and destroying lives for years. He's a master at hiding his tracks, but I've been watching, gathering evidence, and now with your help we can finally expose him. Vincent's voice was low, dangerous. And what makes you think I'll help you? Charlotte's eyes met his, unflinching. Because you're a man who values truth and justice. Because you've been betrayed by the people you trusted most. Because you have a daughter who deserves to know the truth. And because, deep down, you know that this is the right thing to do. Vincent was silent for a long moment, the wind howling around them. Then he nodded. What do you need from me? Charlotte's face relaxed slightly. I need you to trust me. I need you to follow my lead. And I need you to be prepared for the truth, no matter how ugly it gets. Vincent's expression was resolute. I'm ready. What's the plan? Charlotte pulled out a folder from her bag, handing it to him. This is everything I have on Alex. Financial records, emails, witness statements. It's enough to bring him down, but we need more. We need to catch him in the act. And we need to make sure that Audrey and Lily are safe. Vincent flipped through the documents, his eyes scanning the incriminating evidence. And how do we do that? Charlotte's smile was cold, calculated. We set a trap. We give Alex what he wants, and then we take it all away. We make him believe that he's won, that he's finally destroyed you. And then, when he's least expecting it, we strike. Vincent's mind raced, the pieces falling into place. And what about Audrey? What about Lily? Charlotte's expression softened. They need to be protected, Vincent. They need to know the truth, but they also need to be kept safe from the fallout. We can't let Alex hurt them again. Vincent nodded, his resolve hardening. I'll do whatever it takes to protect them. Whatever it takes to bring Alex down. Charlotte's smile was genuine this time, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Then let's do this. Let's bring down Alexander Mercer, once and for all. As they stood there, the river flowing silently beneath them, Vincent and Charlotte made their pact. A pact of justice, of vengeance, and of redemption. A pact to expose the truth no matter the cost. Charlotte nodded, her voice low but resolute. Good. We'll be in touch. And Vincent, be careful. When people like Alex and your father sense what's coming, they'll do anything to protect themselves. Vincent watched as she disappeared into the shadows, her silhouette swallowed by the city's cold glow. He stood there for a moment, the numbness that had insulated him against heartbreak, now replaced by a burning resolve. The thumb drive felt heavy in his palm, evidence of betrayal, manipulation, and pain stretching back years. But it also held the means to end it all. For Lily, for himself, for every life their choices had touched. Returning home, Vincent moved with deliberate quiet, the house silent except for the occasional creak of winter settling in the beams. In his office, he locked the door behind him and sank into his chair, powering up his laptop and inserting Charlotte's drive. Folder after folder unfolded before him. Bank statements, wire transfers, screen captures of private messages, legal documents, even a few grainy surveillance videos showing his father meeting discreetly with Alex and Audrey. In the flickering light of his monitor, Vincent let go of the last threads of denial. This was bigger than a marriage or a project. It was a web of corruption, betrayal, and pain spanning 2 generations. He looked at the photo of Lily, the discomfort on her young face carved into his memory. They would not break her too. He would save her, even if it meant tearing out the rot in his life root and branch. Tomorrow, the first phase of his partnership with Charlotte would begin. There would be no more mercy, no more measured responses. There would only be the architecture of justice built to last. Vincent listened intently, doing his best to keep the surge of protectiveness from showing on his face. You don't owe anyone your gratitude, Lily, he said gently, his voice steady. And you never have to do anything that makes you uncomfortable, no matter who is asking. She nodded, her brow furrowed. I told Mom, but she says Alex just wants to help. She says you're too busy or too strict to understand what I really want. Vincent felt a familiar ache, remembering Charlotte's warning and the photo that sat hidden deep in his desk drawer. I'm sorry you ever felt that way. Sometimes parents... He hesitated, searching for the right words. Sometimes we let our own problems blind us to what's right in front of us. But I see you, Lily, and I trust your instincts about people. If you ever feel uncomfortable with Alex or anyone else, will you promise to tell me? She studied him for a moment, seeing uncertainty where she was used to seeing strength. But in that uncertainty was something new, openness. I promise, Dad. I will. For a moment, something like hope flickered between them. Vincent squeezed her hand. That's all I need. Later, as he watched her retreat to her room, Vincent felt the first real sense of resolve he'd had in months. He would not allow Alex, Audrey, or anyone else to twist his daughter's life as theirs had been twisted. That night, when he met Charlotte in the encrypted chat they used, he wrote only, "She's ready to talk when the time comes. We're almost there." Charlotte's response was swift and measured. Good. The final phase starts soon. Be prepared. And Vincent, for the first time, was. Harold's face darkened, his voice dropping to a low growl. Don't you dare bring your mother into this. Vincent's smile didn't waver. Why not? She's part of this family's legacy, isn't she? The secrets, the manipulations, the betrayals. It's all part of the pattern, isn't it, Dad? Harold's eyes narrowed, his voice cold. You don't know what you're talking about. You never have. Vincent leaned back in his chair, his expression calm. I know more than you think. I know about the workers who died at Westside. I know about the bribes, the cover-ups, the lies. I know about the role you played in all of it. And I know about the role you're playing now. Harold's face paled slightly, but his voice remained steady. You have no proof. It's all speculation, conjecture. You're grasping at straws. Vincent's smile was chilling. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like I have a very clear picture, and it's a picture that includes you, Dad, right at the center of it all. Harold's expression hardened, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous whisper. You think you can threaten me, Vincent? You think you can blackmail me? You think you can destroy me? Vincent's voice was soft, almost gentle. I don't think, Dad. I know. And so do you. That's why you're so afraid. That's why you're so desperate to control the narrative. That's why you're so willing to betray your own son. Harold's face contorted with rage, but Vincent just smiled, his voice steady and sure. But it's too late, Dad. The game is up, the truth is out, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Harold's eyes flashed with a mix of fear and fury, but Vincent just sat back, his expression calm, his voice steady. So, let's make a deal, Dad. You tell me everything. You tell me about the offshore accounts, the manipulated contracts, the amended trust documents. You tell me about your role in all of it. And in return, I'll make sure you get a fair trial. I'll make sure you get to tell your side of the story. I'll make sure you get the justice you deserve. Harold's face was a mask of shock and horror, but Vincent just smiled, his voice soft and sure. But if you refuse, Dad, if you try to run, if you try to hide, then I'll make sure you get what you deserve. And trust me, Dad, you don't want that. Because I'm not just your son. I'm an architect, and I know how to build a case. I know how to build a trap, and I know how to make sure you never see the light of day again. Harold's eyes flashed with a mix of anger and disbelief. You think you can blackmail me into compliance? You think you can manipulate me into playing your little game? Vincent's voice was steady, his gaze unyielding. I'm not blackmailing you, Dad. I'm giving you a choice. You can either stand with me and help protect Lily, or you can continue down this path of betrayal and deceit. The choice is yours. Harold's face contorted with rage, but Vincent just smiled, his voice soft and sure. But remember, Dad, every choice has consequences. And I'm not the only one who knows the truth. Charlotte Wells has evidence that would bury you all, and she's not afraid to use it. Harold's eyes narrowed, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous whisper. You think you can control this, Vincent? You think you can outmaneuver me? Vincent's smile was chilling. I don't think, Dad. I know. And so do you. That's why you're so afraid. That's why you're so desperate to control the narrative. That's why you're so willing to betray your own family. Harold's face paled, but his voice remained steady. "You're playing a dangerous game, Vincent. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." Vincent's voice was calm, almost gentle. "I know exactly what I'm getting myself into, Dad, and I'm ready for it. Are you?" With that, Vincent turned and walked away, leaving Harold alone with his thoughts and the chilling photographs. As he stepped out into the cold winter air, Vincent felt a sense of resolve wash over him. He had made his choice, and he was ready to see it through, no matter the cost. Harold nodded, his voice steady. "And the second condition?" Vincent turned back to face his father, his expression resolute. "You disappear. You leave Chicago. Leave the country if you have to. You cut all ties with Audrey, Alex, and anyone else involved in this conspiracy. You start over, somewhere they can't find you, and you never, ever come back." Harold's face paled, but he nodded. "Done. I'll do it. I'll give you everything you need and I'll disappear." Vincent's voice was cold, unyielding. "Good, because if you don't, if you try to double-cross me, if you try to warn them, I'll make sure you go down with them. I'll make sure you spend the rest of your life in a prison cell, rotting away for your crimes. And I'll make sure Lily knows exactly what you did." Harold's eyes met Vincent's, and for a moment, something like understanding passed between them. Then Harold nodded, his voice steady. "I understand. I'll do as you ask." Vincent sat back down at his desk, his mind racing. "Good. Now let's get started. Tell me everything. Every detail, every name, every piece of evidence you have. Leave nothing out." Over the next few hours, Harold provided a detailed account of the conspiracy, including the names of the inspectors, the engineers, the city officials, and the financial partners involved. He gave Vincent access to encrypted files, hidden accounts, and secret communications. He revealed the full extent of Alex and Audrey's plans, the depths of their betrayal, and the lengths they were willing to go to achieve their goals. As Vincent listened, his resolve hardened. He would not let them get away with this. He would not let them hurt Lily or anyone else. He would bring them down, no matter the cost. When Harold finally finished, Vincent stood, his voice steady and sure. "Thank you, Dad. You've done the right thing. Now it's time for you to disappear. Leave tonight. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Don't contact anyone. Just go." Harold nodded, his eyes filled with a mix of relief and regret. "I understand. I'll do as you ask." As Harold left the office, Vincent sat back down at his desk, his mind already formulating the next steps in his plan. He would use the evidence his father had provided to build an ironclad case against Alex and Audrey. He would expose their conspiracy, their betrayal, and their crimes, and he would make sure they paid for what they had done. But first, he had to protect Lily. He had to make sure she was safe, that she was out of their reach, that she was beyond their influence. He had to make sure she knew the truth, that she understood the depths of their deception, and that she was strong enough to face the consequences. He picked up his phone and dialed Charlotte's number. "It's time," he said when she answered. "The final phase begins tonight." He squeezed Lily's hand gently, pride and sorrow threading through his voice. "You shouldn't have had to be part of any of this, but I promise, I won't shut you out anymore. I'll keep you informed, but you have to trust my judgment about what's safe." Lily nodded, tears shining in her eyes, but her jaw set with resolve. "Just tell me what to do." "Keep your distance from your mother and Alex," Vincent said softly. "Be polite, but don't be alone with either of them. And if you ever feel threatened, you call me. No explanations, just a word and I'll come get you, anytime, anywhere. Understood?" "Understood," she echoed. "I love you, Dad." Vincent smiled, an emotion he hadn't allowed himself in months. "I love you too, and I am so proud of how strong you are." They finished their meal in silence, both processing the gravity of what was to come. Later that night, as Vincent walked Lily to her room, he felt the shape of the future changing. For the first time in a very long time, hope was a real, tangible thing. The next morning, with every piece now in motion, Vincent met Charlotte in their secure workspace. "It's time," he said. She glanced up, her sharp eyes shining with approval. "Then let's finish this. Together." They agreed to help, provided we kept the true reason confidential until after the inspection. "Everyone you see here today, everyone in this room, can be trusted. That's how we kept the changes off the books until now." A murmur of quiet approval circled the table as the seriousness of Vincent's tactics became clear. "Tomorrow we conduct the inspection as scheduled," Vincent continued, his tone resolute. "Diego, you'll be with the inspector and the committee. Marina, you'll be in the monitoring station. The rest of the team will be positioned as we discussed." Diego nodded, a glint of determination in his eyes. "And if the saboteurs try to trigger their plan?" Vincent showed a faint smile. "The modified structure can absorb any failure at the point they compromised. Not only will there be no collapse, but we'll have forensic evidence of tampering. Our investment in auxiliary cameras and pressure sensors is going to pay off." Marina glanced at the diagrams again. "This turns the trap back on them." "Exactly," Vincent said. "The moment the signal is sent to trigger a collapse, our monitoring system will log the attempt and immediately notify a trusted contact in law enforcement. We'll catch them red-handed." Another partner, a veteran named Lennox, asked quietly, "Do we risk anyone's safety?" "Not for a second," Vincent assured him. "We'll be in controlled positions and outside the danger zones, no matter what it looks like on the site plan." The partners exchanged determined glances. Vincent felt a deep, sober pride in the calm courage of his team. "We're not just surviving sabotage tomorrow," he finished. "We're erasing the blueprint for corruption in this city." With the plan set and the trust of his inner circle, Vincent left the meeting that night with hope glimmering in the distance. For his firm, for Chicago, and most of all, for Lily. Because this time, the foundation couldn't be shaken. Audrey offered a delicate smile, swirling her wine. "Well, I hope so. It would be a shame for your big project to be delayed over something minor." Her voice was smooth, practiced, but Vincent could see the effort in her posture, the faint tension in her hands. She was searching for cracks, for signs he was afraid. He shrugged, keeping his tone level. "Delays are always possible in construction. Fortunately, my team is prepared for any surprises." She set her glass down and moved closer, her eyes searching his face. "You seem awfully calm for someone whose career could be on the line tomorrow." Vincent held her gaze, seeing through the performance. "After all we've been through, Audrey, I've learned how to handle pressure." She tilted her head, her tone dropping subtly. "You're not planning anything unorthodox, are you, Vincent? I'd hate for there to be any further complications on top of what's already happened." He let a slow smile spread across his face, feeling the power shifting beneath the surface. "Let's just say I prefer designing solutions to facing disasters." Audrey studied him a moment longer, then turned away. Her composure rattled for the first time. "Well, I hope the city sees it that way too." Vincent watched her retreat, knowing that tomorrow he would be the architect not just of structures, but of justice itself. That night, as he checked the final security protocols and exchanged encrypted messages with Charlotte and the firm's legal team, a strange calm settled over him. All that remained was to see the plan through, one last controlled demolition, after which he would begin building anew, on foundations no one else could sabotage. The city's chief inspector was mid-sentence, discussing soil stability and load calculations when Vincent gave a subtle nod to Marina in the monitoring station. She tapped a tablet, confirming that all auxiliary sensors and cameras were recording. Vincent stepped a little aside to let the inspector have a clear view of the plans, careful to keep the center of the group just out of the known danger zone. Through his earpiece, he heard Charlotte's associate quietly. "Williamson just got the signal from Alex's burner phone. He's primed the device." At that instant, Peter Williamson's thumb pressed the hidden button on the remote in his pocket. The ground beneath them did not so much as tremble. Instead, a discreet chime sounded from Marina's tablet. "Active tamper attempt detected," her screen read. Vincent kept his tone calm and professional. "If everyone would be so kind as to stay in place, the construction team would like to demonstrate the redundancy features we built in last month. It's a quick presentation meant to reassure investors." Marina made her way onto the site carrying the live feed tablet. She moved straight to the chief inspector and city officials. "May I show you something?" she asked with a polite smile. "We've just picked up an anomaly in the load sensors. A remote activation was detected, but the site remained perfectly stable. Here's what our embedded security footage caught." On the tablet's screen, a split view played back, Williamson discreetly pressing the remote, the time codes matching exactly to the moment of the attempted sabotage. Footage from the underground stabilization system appeared, showing the structure immovable, unyielding. The committee members shifted uneasily, eyes darting between the plans and their fellow officials. Vincent's voice carried quietly but clearly. "I'd like to invite the police and media, who've been waiting nearby at our request, to review this footage as part of our commitment to full transparency. Today isn't just an inspection. It's a demonstration of what true accountability and excellent design look like when corruption tries to bring it down." The site erupted in stunned whispers as police escorted Williamson away, his protests quickly drowned out by the clicking of news cameras. Charlotte's financial investigation team was already initiating account freezes and evidence drops coordinated with investigators across the city. Audrey and Alex's house of cards was collapsing in real time. As Vincent watched the chaos unfold, a profound sense of relief washed over him. Justice, at last, was underway, and this time the foundation would hold. Alex's voice on the other end was sharp, barely controlled.
"It's impossible. You checked the calibration last night. Did you follow the sequence exactly? Are you sure no one saw you?"
"I'm sure," Williamson stammered, glancing nervously at Vincent, who gave him an encouraging nod. "But nothing's happening. The foundation is completely stable. The construction team is walking all over it. The inspectors even praising the structural modifications." There was a pause, the sound of hurried whispers in the background. "Stay where you are," Alex ordered finally, his tone hardening. "I'll call Audrey. We'll figure this out. Under no circumstances let anyone see you leave the site." Vincent slipped a folded note into Williamson's hand. It read, "Stall. Give them nothing." Then, quietly, he signaled to Diego and Marina. Plans were moving exactly as designed. Williamson put his phone away, sweat beading on his forehead. "What now?" he whispered. "You'll stay visible and relaxed," Vincent replied, voice low but firm. "You'll answer questions as if nothing is wrong, and you won't make any sudden moves. Police will want to speak to you soon. When they do, give them everything on Alex, Audrey, and every official involved. This is your only chance." Williamson swallowed, nodding through his panic. "Okay." Satisfied, Vincent left him for the officers who were already converging on the site, armed with Marina's footage and validation from the new soil sensors. The news crews were beginning to arrive, cameras trained on the unfolding scene. Within the hour, uniformed detectives were escorting Williamson away, and the chief inspector, having reviewed the substitutions and the extraordinary safety measures, praised Vincent's foresight in a brief statement to the media. As the chaos whipped around him, Vincent felt a steel-cold vindication settle in his chest. He caught Diego's eye across the site, offering a grateful, fleeting nod. The structure held. The truth was exposed. Justice was no longer an aspiration. It was an undeniable reality. Now it was time to confront Alex and Audrey and lay the final bricks in the new life he and Lily would build. "I'm talking about the fact that I know everything, Audrey. I know about your affair with Alex. I know about the financial schemes, the manipulated contracts, the offshore accounts. I know about the plan to kill me and frame it as an accident. I know about the grooming, the manipulation, the betrayal. I know it all." Audrey's face paled, her eyes wide with shock and fear. "Vincent, You what?" Vincent interrupted, his voice low and dangerous. "You were going to what? Lie to me again? Manipulate me again? Betray me again?" Audrey's hands shook as she tried to speak, but Vincent cut her off again. "Save it. I don't want to hear your lies. I don't want to hear your excuses. I just want you to leave." He slid the envelope across the counter toward her. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take this envelope and you're going to leave. You're going to go to the airport and you're going to get on the first flight out of the country, and you're never going to come back." Audrey looked at the envelope, then back at Vincent, her voice barely a whisper. "What's in the envelope?" Vincent's smile was chilling. "Everything, every email, every text, every financial record, every piece of evidence that proves your guilt. And if you ever try to come back, if you ever try to contact Lily, if you ever try to interfere in our lives again, I'll release it all, and you'll spend the rest of your life in prison." Audrey's eyes filled with tears, but Vincent felt nothing but cold resolve. "Take the envelope, Audrey, and leave. Now." With shaking hands, Audrey picked up the envelope and slipped it into her suitcase. She zipped it closed, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. As she turned to leave, Vincent called after her, his voice steady and sure. "And Audrey, if I ever see you again, I won't be so merciful." As she fled the house, Vincent stood in the kitchen, the weight of his actions settling over him. He had done it. He had exposed the truth, had protected Lily, had brought justice to those who had betrayed him. And now he would begin to rebuild, to create a new foundation for his life, one built on honesty, on trust, on love. For a second, Audrey seemed to sag under the weight of that truth, the strength in her posture faltering. She saw all of it. Her voice was hollow, stripped of any false bravado. "Yes," Vincent replied quietly. "She knows about the lies, the manipulation, the way you and Alex tried to shape her future for your own benefit. She knows who protected her and who didn't." Tears sprang to Audrey's eyes, but she quickly wiped them away, her composure returning like armor. "So, that's it? All those years? Gone in a moment?" Vincent's tone was even, but there was an edge of sadness beneath the steel. "It didn't have to be this way, but you chose a path of deception, and once you involved Lily, you crossed a line I can never forgive." Audrey picked up her suitcase and the envelope, her movements slow, defeated. "You win, Vincent," she said, her voice brittle. "You always did have a way of getting the last word." "This was never about winning," Vincent said. "It was about protecting our daughter and holding you accountable for your choices." She paused at the door, casting a final look back at the man she once loved and the home she would never see again. "Take care of her," Audrey whispered, her voice breaking at last. "And try not to become the monster you fought so hard to destroy." The front door closed softly behind her, leaving Vincent alone in the stillness of the kitchen. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of the past lifting, replaced by a sense of sober possibility. This chapter, painful, costly, but necessary, was over. It was time to build something new. Vincent paused, letting the tension build before continuing. "Over the past several months, my firm has uncovered a conspiracy aimed at sabotaging not just this project, but the integrity of our city's infrastructure and the safety of its citizens. This conspiracy involved high-ranking officials, powerful businessmen, and even members of my own family." A murmur rippled through the crowd, cameras flashing as Vincent's words sank in. "I won't bore you with the details," he continued, his voice hardening. "But I will say that the evidence we have gathered is irrefutable. It includes financial records, communications, and even attempts at physical sabotage. The mastermind behind this plot is Alexander Mercer, a prominent real estate developer and someone I once considered a friend." The room erupted in whispers, the name Alexander Mercer carrying weight in the city's political and business circles. Mercer's plan was to destroy the foundation of the Arts District project, literally and metaphorically, Vincent explained. He sought to frame my firm for negligence, clear the way for his own competing proposal, and line his pockets with the insurance payouts. But what he didn't count on was the resilience of the people who built this city and the unyielding pursuit of justice. Vincent gestured to the screen behind him, where images of the compromised soil testing equipment and the modified foundation design appeared. Thanks to the vigilance of my team and the bravery of whistleblowers within the city's inspection departments, we were able to uncover and neutralize the sabotage. Today, the Arts District project stands stronger than ever, a testament to the power of truth and the indomitable spirit of Chicago. He turned to face the journalists, his expression resolute. But this is just the beginning. The evidence we have gathered implicates not just Mercer, but a network of corrupt officials, business partners, and even members of my own family. We have already turned this evidence over to the authorities, and I expect swift and decisive action to be taken. A reporter from the Chicago Tribune raised her hand, her voice cutting through the hum of the crowd. What about your wife, Audrey Reeves? Is she involved in this conspiracy? Vincent's expression didn't waver. Audrey Reeves is currently cooperating with authorities. She has made her choice, and now she must live with the consequences. Another reporter, this one from the Chicago Sun-Times, asked, And what about you, Mr. Reeves? How do you plan to move forward after this? Vincent's voice was steady, his gaze unwavering. I plan to continue building, to create structures that stand the test of time, that embody the values of honesty, integrity, and justice. I plan to raise my daughter in a world where she knows the truth, where she understands the importance of standing up for what's right, and where she is never, ever used as a pawn in someone else's game. As the press conference concluded, Vincent fielded a few more questions, his answers measured and precise. Behind him, his partners exchanged glances of pride and relief. They had weathered the storm, and now they would emerge stronger than ever. As the journalists dispersed, Vincent turned to Diego, his voice low but firm. Make sure the evidence is delivered to the authorities, every last piece, and then let's get to work. We have a city to rebuild. Cameras flashed as Vincent's words settled over the crowd, the magnitude of the crime clear in every reporter's face. He maintained his poise, letting the silence underscore the seriousness of what had nearly occurred. It was only thanks to detailed contingency planning and the professionalism of my team that we avoided disaster, Vincent continued. We believe this event represents a turning point, not just for this project, but for how public and private partnerships are managed in our city. Transparency, accountability, and diligence will define our work moving forward. Another journalist from a local network called out, Was your family affected by this conspiracy? Vincent met the reporter's gaze squarely. Of course, he said, his tone grave but steady. I won't go into personal details, but betrayals like these leave deep scars. That is why exposing the truth and pursuing justice was never a choice. It was a necessity. He nodded to Diego, who projected final slides. The strengthened foundation, the timeline of audits, and images of the team members who had risked their reputations to ensure the truth came out. As of today, the individuals responsible are being held accountable. We are already collaborating with the city to ensure not just the Arts District's success, but that those who try to undermine it will never again be in a position to endanger our city or its people. We are only as strong as the integrity of those who build our future. The press conference ended with a round of urgent questions and promises of follow-up coverage, but Vincent kept his answers measured, revealing nothing more than what needed to be in the public eye. Afterward, as his partners congratulated one another and lawyers coordinated with authorities, Vincent stepped away to an upper-floor window, gazing out over St. Louis's skyline. This was not the ending he had wanted, but it was the ending the city, and especially Lily, deserved. Tomorrow, the slow, painstaking work of rebuilding could begin. But tonight, justice had finally been served. Vincent reached across the table, his expression earnest. Your mother and I both failed you in different ways, even if our intentions were good at times. But from now on, no more secrets, no more lies between us. You deserve the truth, and a future you can trust." Lily nodded, her composure wavering just slightly. Does it ever get easier? The guilt? The second-guessing about what's right? He squeezed her hand gently. I don't know if it gets easier, but I do know that facing the truth, even when it hurts, is the only way to start rebuilding. I hope you can forgive us someday. She managed a small, brave smile through the heaviness on her face. Someday. Maybe not yet. Vincent smiled back, pride and relief mingling in his chest. That's enough for now. I'm here, Lily. For real this time. We'll get through this together. They sat in quiet understanding, the chaos outside their doors fading for the first time in months. Whatever the world might say, whatever shape his legacy took from here, Vincent knew this was the foundation he truly wanted. A bond with his daughter, honest and unbreakable. Outside, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, it cast long shadows across newly cleared ground, a sign perhaps of brighter things to come. Audrey's plea deal was already being analyzed by legal commentators, while the names of board members and officials caught in the scandal scrolled across every news site. Financial accounts were being seized, and federal agencies were lining up witness lists and preparing indictments. The city, so long shaped by secrets and quiet deals, was finally being forced into the open, for better or worse. Vincent leaned back in his chair, the weight of exhaustion heavy but strangely welcome. His home was quieter. The threat had receded, replaced now by the quiet possibility of something good growing from the cleared ground. Upstairs, Lily's presence brought a sense of peace and stability he hadn't dared hope for. As the midnight city glimmered through his office window, Vincent began to draft a letter, not to the authorities nor to his former circle of influence, but to his daughter. In it, he recounted the hopes he had always harbored for her: courage, kindness, discernment, and a spirit that could build a better world. He promised to be her foundation, steady and transparent, no matter the years or distance that might one day separate them. He closed his laptop, set the letter aside to be completed in the morning, and looked around the office, a room filled not with trophies of conquest, but with blueprints for things yet to come. Down the hall, he could hear Lily's gentle breathing, a living promise that the future he would help her build would be different from the past, stronger, and finally, truly their own. The old foundations had been raised. In time, new ones would rise, forged from truth, compassion, and the hard-won lessons of justice. For the remainder of his days, Harold lived surrounded by beauty he could never truly appreciate, haunted by the legacy he had left behind. In his rare, carefully worded messages, he never asked for forgiveness, and Vincent never offered it. That history had been sealed, acknowledged, but never resolved. Lily, in turn, thrived in her newfound independence. She chose to stay in Chicago for her senior year, attending a prestigious preparatory academy while splitting her weekends between campus visits and the gentle, sometimes awkward work of redefining her relationship with her father. Art, music, and design took center stage in her life again, and Vincent made a conscious effort to be present, not simply as a provider, but as a parent worthy of her trust. Their home had changed too. Vincent renovated the mansion, balancing its original modernist roots with warm, lived-in touches. Lily's paintings hung alongside architectural drawings, and a family piano filled the once stark living room with music on quiet evenings. The spaces that had once symbolized secrets now fostered genuine connection, comfort, and creativity. Professionally, Cornerstone Designs flourished under new leadership as Vincent gradually stepped back from day-to-day operations. He dedicated more time to education, mentoring young architects and advocating for ethics and transparency in urban development, determined to break the cycle that nearly destroyed his own family and city. At the Arts District dedication, Lily joined him on stage for a father-daughter photo, her arm proudly around his waist. As photographers captured the triumphant moment, Vincent finally saw not just a finished project before him, but a new beginning. He realized that the true foundation he had rebuilt was not of concrete and steel, but of truth, forgiveness, and hard-won hope. And as a spring breeze swept in from the lake, carrying with it the sounds of laughter, applause, and distant music, Vincent Reeves allowed himself to believe, for the first time in years, that he and Lily were home. Vincent smiled, acknowledging both the compliment and the subtle question behind it. "She does," he agreed. "She sees the world as a series of structures, some worth preserving, and others that must be torn down before something better can take their place." They wandered through the airy galleries, their footsteps echoing among paintings, plans, and interactive models that invited visitors to reflect on the consequences and possibilities of rebuilding. The atmosphere was one of hope, energized by creativity and collaboration. "It's nice," Lily said softly, "to see people thinking about the future, and not just theirs but everyone's. I want to design places like this someday, spaces that help people heal." Vincent looked at her, his heart full. "You already have the most important quality for that, empathy." They left the exhibition hall, the sounds of laughter and music drifting across the plaza. Vincent and Lily paused at the entrance, taking in the vibrant life of the district, a testament not just to resilience but to the capacity for compassion and change. As dusk began to settle and lights bloomed across the city, Vincent realized that his legacy would not be defined by the betrayals that had shattered his family, but by the choices he made to rebuild, openly, honestly, profoundly, and by the bonds he strengthened along the way. He rested a hand on Lily's shoulder, proud and at peace. And together they walked into the future, the one they had earned and the one they would shape, brick by brick, heart by heart. She was reading over the menu but looked up as he slid into the seat across from her, the last rays of evening glinting off the water. "Everything okay?" she asked, concern softening her features. Vincent nodded, his smile sincere but tinged with the gravity of the conversation he'd just had. "It will be. They caught Alex in Malaysia. There will be a trial, and justice, real justice, will keep unfolding, even if it looks different than we first imagined." Lily exhaled, clearly relieved. "Does that mean this is finally over?" He took a slow breath, appreciating the gentle ambiance of the restaurant, the way the city's new heart seemed to pulse with hope outside. "For our family, yes. For the city, and people like Charlotte who've been fighting these battles for years, it's ongoing. But we're free to look toward tomorrow, not just away from yesterday." She reached across the table, fingers warm on his hand. "I'm proud of you, Dad. Not for the revenge, but for how you rebuilt and for letting go when it mattered most." Vincent smiled, feeling the heavy burden of vengeance melting into something lighter. Purpose, peace, and love. "Thank you, Lily, and I'm proud of you for your strength, for your honesty, and for the future I know you'll build." Together they ordered their meal, the conversation turning to classes and travel plans and new beginnings. Outside, the lights of the arts district glowed, and Vincent felt, at last, that what they had constructed together, out of pain, perseverance, and hope, was something truly beautiful, something that could endure. Vincent and Lily finished their meal as evening deepened over the city, their words blending with laughter and quiet optimism. The challenges of the past were not forgotten, yet neither were they the burdens they once had been. In the shimmering reflection of the lights along the river, father and daughter looked to the future, one built on a foundation of hard-won wisdom, honesty, and love. For Vincent Reeves, justice was no longer a fortress built out of fear or resentment, but a lasting living structure shaped by forgiveness where it was possible, and boundary where it was not. With Lily by his side as both his greatest legacy and most trusted collaborator, he walked forward, no longer just architect of buildings, but of a life both beautiful and true. And so, a city rebuilt, a family renewed, and a new blueprint for hope inscribed on every piece of the world they touched. "I'm sorry, but I can't do that,"